Just did Cook's Forest 25K. Finished like 6th overall in 2.5 hours. To be frank, I pretty much shit the bed. I was having a really good race. Well, I'll go from the beginning. First 2 miles, I was in the lead. The guy who finished first was pacing off me, and I didn't want nothing to do with that. So I actually stepped off and back so he would go around. I just hate people on my ass, and he was on my ass. So I turned the tables and just paced off of him for the rest of the next, we'll say 7 miles. Basically just turning the tables. I wasn't on his ass. I actually stayed back a couple steps. That way if he tripped or something, I didn't trip over him. And then I was going to let him dictate the pace, which was a really nice, comfortable pace. I could have probably kept that pace all day long, probably for like a 50K or more. I was just running really easy. Yeah, so letting him dictate the pace really helped me early on, saved me a lot of energy. I could have started singing if I wanted to, but since he was so close to me, I didn't want him to hear me singing. Blew past the first aid station. I don't know, I was just basically watching him in front, trying to pick apart his run game, trying to find a weakness and whatnot. I did notice he was splurging down hills a little bit more. And then on the flats, I would just catch right back up, but that was fine because, you know, if I was catching right back up, there was no point in me putting on a little bit of surge to stay with him on the downhills. Then the first big uphill, actually overtook him. He was power walking, and I wasn't really having a hard time. I just, I did my power walking past him, then jogged some, power walked a little bit, doing my little thing. Then it leveled out again. Stayed in front for like a mile or so after that first big incline. And then that's when my race started to fall apart. I just, a couple weeks ago, I bought a Nathan Trail Mix waist pack. I've had Nathan packs before, even a waist pack that I usually use. This new one sucks. I really don't like it at all. Now I don't. At the time, beforehand, I really liked it and I thought it was going to be really useful, but it's definitely not race ready unless I can figure something out. Because after that hill, we started down a hill a little bit after we crested the hill. Damn water bottle fell out. So I had to stop, backtrack, get it. As he's coming down, he pointed out to me. He takes the lead. I was like, fine, whatever. I didn't really care at the time because we were like not even halfway through the race yet. So I put it in, whatever. A little bit later, it falls out again. I was getting pissed, so I twisted it from the back to my side, like a little bit, so it was like cockeyed on my body. Fell out again, and then after the 4th time, I just basically said, screw it, I'm done with it, because I lost probably at least a solid minute, if not 2, because the water bottle's just falling out. Something completely stupid cost me the race. 100% cost me the race. Just, I was running fine, running comfortably. I wasn't zoned in at all today, I will say that. My mental game was completely gone, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so stopping, getting my water bottles, back on my pack, just completely like pissed me off and annoyed me. And he was just gaining from there because, you know, the stop and go. And then we got to aid station 2. I was just so mad. I just gave it to this one woman, Lori, I know. I was like, this is junk, can you take it to the finish line? Which she did, so I thank her for that. I needed water, but I was just so mad at it because it was costing me so much time and whatnot. It was becoming more of a hindrance, but as soon as I ditched it, I immediately regretted it. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I should at least put the bottles in my hands, whatnot, because it definitely cost me the race. Because after that, we did like a less than a mile road section, but then you have the hills, like Seneca Hill, which I needed water for. I didn't have nothing to like wet my mouth because it got so humid by that point. I needed water. Not that I was running fast, like red line per se, but I was running fast enough where I was like really sweaty, and I knew I was dropping a lot of water weight out of my body, so I needed the water on me to stay hydrated. So my race pretty much fell apart after that on Seneca Hill. I was like, well, dumbass, you can't run fast now, because if you run fast, it's just going to put you in a dehydrated state or hyponatremic. Well, probably, well, more dehydrated because I was just sweating so bad. So I had to pull back, and he just pretty much got me and took over from there. So yeah, that's how my race went. I couldn't really do nothing because I couldn't turn it back on because it just got so hot, and I was just sweating so much when I tried to turn it on. Not having the water just pretty much defeated me. I had 4 people pass me in a little grouping. My one buddy passed me. Told the one guy to chase him on the hills. But yeah. So then I kept going at a slower rate. He only finished 17 minutes ahead of me, and I guarantee between mile 10 and, well, the end of the race, you could see how like my pace is going to drop. I didn't get to upload it yet, but I guarantee it. It was like, if you take all the time from whatever I was doing, we'll just say out of every time 9 minutes or above from mile 10 aid station to the finish, I guarantee there's more than 17 minutes there. That would have been the race, just because I couldn't go fast. Which, it just pisses me off because I finished 6th, and I know I could have, at the very worst, if I had water, I would have finished 2nd. I feel like I played it smart. I could have finished 1st. Because like I said, I was pacing off of him. I had plenty of energy. I just needed that little sip once in a while just to keep me hydrated enough. Then around 12 and a half, 13, I really started feeling it, like the dehydrated state. I was starting to get a little lightheaded. I knew it. 14, I was definitely in the danger zone. I was getting a little lightheaded, but what can you do? I was either just gonna have to sit there and hope somebody would give me water from the race, or just push on. Barely made it to mile 15 at aid station 3. Stopped there for like 5 minutes, drank a bunch of Gatorade, water, downed a couple pieces of pickle, got some trail mix and a piece of watermelon as I walked away. But I was definitely there. Well, right there's 5 minutes at that aid station. Take that off my time, which if I had my waist pack, I could have blown right through it, which was my plan. So, yeah, so I got hydrated enough to make it to the finish. I felt decent enough to, I guess, jog the last 2 miles. They weren't really hard. They were more like triple track. So it wasn't really technical or nothing to really worry about. Even though, like, the one time I did try to turn it back up, I instantly felt like I was going back into that state, like dehydrated, starting to get a little lightheaded and sick, so I couldn't turn it on. But I finished. I walked it in like the last 30 yards to the finish, finishing in 2.5, whatever change. I was pissed. Such a stupid way to have lost the race, because your water bottles are falling out and you have to stop and pick them up. So don't get the Nathan Trail Mix waist pack. It looks functional, but as soon as I got sweaty, the elastic band that kept the water in completely just allowed everything to stretch. Plus, having drank some out of it, I don't know if the motion of me running in the air and it just sloshing around played a factor, but I'm probably, I would say 100% sure that it also played a factor. So it's actually a piss poor design, which I'm just going to keep bashing it, because the more I think about it, it just pisses me off. Because I knew I had it, and I was watching first, and I could tell that I could take them. My plan was to turn it on Seneca Hill a little bit, and then if he even caught back up, finally lay the hammer down probably about mile 14 to the finish. Since his pace was so comfortable for me to run, I had the energy to lay a hammer down when I needed to, especially that last mile where it's really non-rocky. I could have definitely put it down a 5-6 minute mile. So that's kind of upsetting to know what could have happened compared to what did happen. Guess that's racing. You can't have your best race all the time. Today was definitely one of those days, but at least I didn't pass out or have to go to the hospital. I knew enough to slow down, take my time, and thankfully that aid station 3 was where it was, because I was definitely getting into the I'm done stage. But nobody to, well, I'll blame Nathan Sports for their piss poor design on the hydration vest, but also at the same time, my decision to drop the waist pack at aid station 2 instead of just carrying them in my hands. So whatever. Now it's, people can talk shit because they finished ahead of me and I had a bad race and I did something stupid. But anyway, the race is put on by my buddy Bob. Pretty good guy. Has a lot of help from the North Country Trail group, DCNR and whatnot. A bunch of different people help clear the trail, mark the trail. There's a ton of volunteers today, stopping the traffic on a couple of road stops, EMS, fire. So I thank them. They did an awesome job today, keeping us all safe. I can speak for aid station 3. They had a nice little spread. Can't say anything for 1 and 2 because I didn't get to stop and look. I just blew past them, but I'm sure they had the same thing. But people were awesome all the way around today. Food was good after the race. Barbecue chicken, baked beans, potato salad, hot dogs. So that they cooked that pretty good for us. If you've never been to Cook's Forest, you're missing out. It's a really lovely park, really nice. A lot of old growth trees in some sections. A lot of runnable trails. Also, a lot of the trails are very accessible to all kinds of people. Like, I don't want to say old people, single out old people, but like anybody could walk these trails. They're not the most difficult or technical, which is really nice because the park is so beautiful. There's, you know, you can even kayak, canoe, whatever, in the park as well. We ran past a fire tower at one point, well, after Seneca Hill. We were on the North Country Trail for a while, on and off that a couple of times, around some of the campsites, stuff like that. All around it, you just got to visit the park. There's a lot of things to see around the park, a lot of things to do. There's a couple views, like I think it's Seneca Rock View, don't quote me on that. It's up around the fire tower as well. I forget what else there is to see offhand. I'm kind of tired, so I can't really remember everything. But I mean, even on the way to the park, there's a bunch of like amusement attractions, like mini golf, go-karts, a couple distilleries and stuff like that, little gift shops, some stop and goes for some food and whatnot. So yeah, come check it out if you get a chance. The park rangers and DCNR take really good care of it, make it really safe. You can even go swimming. They have an ice rink, I believe, in the winter. So a lot of opportunities for recreation, camping as well. It's just sometimes it's hard when you're racing to be able to take in all the views. But other than that, that's pretty much what happened race-wise. Is I just basically crapped the bed today due to my own stupidity and Nathan Sports. Still have a lot of energy. I'm going to get home and run a couple more, get my 20 miles in, do an anger run, maybe work off some of this anger. Did talk to a lot of people after the race, a lot of nice people. So, I mean, other than me crapping the bed, I had a good time. It probably didn't help that I got 4 hours of sleep last night and was actually tired. Usually 4 hours, my body wants to go, but I was kind of tired today. I mentally never got into the race either, even though I was running comfortably. I just never found that zone today. My music wasn't on point, so that didn't help either. I just don't know why I never got zoned in. And I got maybe the antibiotics I got from when I fell a couple weeks ago from my knee might have played a role a little bit too. Maybe making me more dehydrated than normal. You know, sweating it out, because I guess it makes you more sensitive to the sun. So I was supposed to wear a shirt or a suntan, and definitely didn't do that. So that actually probably played a role as well. But I guess I won't know unless I ask a doctor. Whatever. Had a bad race, but overall good race experience because Mom and all his crew put on a good race. So if you get a chance, check it out next year. I believe he's going to have it this time of year every year. So like towards the end of August is what it seems to be the last couple years. Yeah, if you want a good race experience, run through some cool things, some varying terrain with nothing overly difficult, come check it out. I believe there's like 2,200 feet of gain for the course. Nothing technical, so pretty runnable. Your feet won't get wet unless it rained. You have to splash through a couple of puddles, but it's a pretty dry course. They have bridges and stuff over the little little springs, so you don't have to worry about that. You always get a cool hat for finishing the race, and usually a cool performance t-shirt as well. So he does a good job with that. Usually a cool design. I didn't get to check mine out yet, but it looks like it's, can't tell if it's the map of the course or if it's just the outline of like Cook's Fords itself. I didn't really get a chance to look at it before the race. I'm gonna do that here in a little bit. I guess that's about it. I'm gonna go lick my wounds when I get home, and who knows what else.